This year's selection was really tough. We had 1,000 new nominations to add to our standing database of about 5,000 young leaders that we track on an ongoing basis to get down to a class of 190 leaders. And it's quite a rigorous process that we go through to get there. We look at things like rapid career progression and delivering results, but then we also look at some of the softer things like evidence of altruistic entrepreneurship or doing more with less, overcoming adversity. And after our own internal review, we work with Heidrick & Struggles externally and 65 offices around the world to vet the shortlisted candidates. And finally, they go to a selection committee chaired by Her Majesty Queen Rania of Jordan and prominent business leaders and politicians and media leaders to get down to that class. So it's a process that takes about 6 months, very rigorous, and occupies quite a lot of our time to get the best possible crop of young global leaders. This year's class of young global leaders is probably the most diverse class we've ever seen. What's very heartening is the fact that we're getting closer to our target of gender parity, which we gave a commitment back in 2009. But it's also a class that comes from 65 different countries and from all stakeholders of society. We've got everything from a Japanese astronaut scientist to an executive from an electric car company in India to an environmental analyst for a Nordic bank. So it's really a diverse group of people. I think the second thing that is so unique about this class is the importance of Asia. Over 40% of the class comes from East Asia or South Asia, with another 25% coming from emerging markets in Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. And so I think what you see is that the future of leadership, doesn't look like me. The future of leadership is more female, it's more Eastern, it's more Southern, and it's beyond business. And I think this class really reflects that and comes across. The Young Global Leaders community is a community that's constantly evolving, and every year's class brings in fresh ideas, new perspectives, new personalities. And so the community is constantly renewing itself and growing and changing and coming up with new initiatives and new insights. One of the things that's very interesting about this year's class is we've seen more profiles from people who've been in both the public sector and the private sector, probably reflecting the increased role of government and governance in world affairs. So I think they're bringing a new and unique perspective, which is these kind of issues that straddle not just business but also politics and civil society. And so I'm very confident that they're going to bring those perspectives in. I think the other thing that we're seeing is a rise in social entrepreneurship. More and more entrepreneurs just aren't satisfied with profit alone. They want social and environmental returns. And this year's class, more than any other, has those kind of entrepreneurs. Even if they don't consider themselves social entrepreneurs, we see the characteristics of their businesses changing. And so we're expecting they'll bring in that dimension into the community in a much stronger voice. What we're doing in the Young Global Leaders community is really important. I've observed that as leaders progress in their careers, they tend to get more and more isolated, especially when they're young and successful. They stop getting honest feedback. And Young Global Leaders have constantly commented on the fact that this community helps them stay real because they give each other tough but supportive feedback so they can become better leaders, not only in their professional lives, but also in their personal lives. They hold each other to a very, very high standard. And by giving them a community of peers, truly peers on a global basis, where they can interact with people far outside their usual comfort zone and their usual group of friends or peers, we really create a unique dynamic. And I think that is boding well for the future of society. One of the things that this community does, every time they get together, they're not satisfied to stay in the comfort of the Congress Center. They go out into the community, whether that's teaching, talking about dignity with young kids, or going into townships to work on health issues, or building houses and working with people out in the community. And so I think these are people who are open and engaged and involved in the world. They allow the world to touch them in a deep way. And in that way, I feel there's tremendous hope because we have a group of young leaders that really is truly committed to improving the state of the world. And if we can make these leaders just 1% better in everything they do, we are going to change the world and shape a better future. I really believe that.